Hey guys, Absolute Boris here. We're at I Love Books in the Fort Henry Mall. Do you love books? I love books. I do not like electronic readers. Now they give a little extra paycheck to JS, just a little extra, like $40 a month, something like this. But the real book, to hold the real book in your hand, especially if you wrote it like this, Fires of Coventry by Rick Shelley. If Rick Shelley, if this was maybe his first book, when he first received a copy, it's like having a baby. This is how JS explained it to me. So, you know, you're delivering, the Ron Paul was a labor and delivery doctor before he was, we'll say, a politician, but he's not a politician. He's what we in Russia would have called an elder statesman. They don't exist anymore. Well, Ron is 84 now, and Rand, his son, is a pretty good statesman himself, but he's a younger statesman. He's not quite the elder yet. But this bookstore is run by Glenn Moody. Dr. Moody, how long have you been in the book business?
This is my 48th year.
48th year.
Boris.
Wow, wow, I'm 40 years old. When's your birthday? You don't have to say the year.
It's in the 20th century.
Oh yeah, I remember this 20th century. But I live in America, and the Prince had the song 1999, 2000, party's over. Party's over, Ross Perot. JS was in the Army, 1992. He had a party's over shirt. He got pulled into an office, said, now you're going to vote for George H.W. Bush, aren't you? And he said, no, I'm going to vote for Ross Perot. And Sergeant First Class Delory said, no, you're going to vote for George H.W. Bush, aren't you? And JS said, why? He said, because you'll get a raise, you'll have job security, the military will strengthen. JS vote for H. Ross Perot. Do you remember 1992 election, Dr. Glenn?
I remember it very well.
Yeah.
I certainly do.
Would you share with us who you voted for?
I did not vote for George H.W. Bush.
Very good, very good.
When people sometimes question whether I'm a libertarian, I tell them I can quickly prove I am not a Republican, as they suggest.
Very good, very good. You're a constitutionalist.
The way is, I say I have never voted for anyone named Bush.
Very good.
Ever.
Very good.
I think that's pretty much enough proof.
I was thinking about walking around with some hedge trimmers because, you know, I know how this politician thing works. Barbara Bush was a Pierce. George H.W. Bush married a Pierce girl. She became Barbara Bush. Her grandpappy was a Franklin Pierce, one of the worst presidents our country has ever known. He got elected based on a book by Washington Irving about the Franklin Pierce. And, you know, Franklin Pierce was not quite as bad as George Bush, Dubya, we call him, yeah, Dubya. But at any rate, I don't know if you agree with me on that, but what do you think about the coverage that Ron Paul got during the debates and, well, the coverage he didn't get, Glenn?
Well, I'm actually not an anti-George Bush. I believe he is a decent person, but I could never vote for him because of his policies.
Yeah, very good.
Ron Paul, of course, has been saying the same thing for 30 plus years.
Right.
And
he ran for president in 1988?
Yes, as the Libertarian candidate, and then of course he's run twice as a Republican candidate.
Grassroots this last times.
Very much, and I think his support increased something like 10 times in 08 from 04.
How about those debates, though? The reading list he gave Giuliani. Do you have those books here? Some of them?
Oh, I have Ron Paul's book, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I do.
And about the blowback and things like this, it's important for people to understand why we are getting wrapped up in these wars that nobody really wants except for, we'll say, the military-industrial complex.
Well, that's the great quote from Eisenhower. He warned us exactly that's what would happen. And of course, the new best-selling book, Killing Patton, talks about the very thing. He was getting ready to come home and resign from the military and expose that very thing. And he mysteriously died after he had recovered from his auto accident. He died from a blood clot that mysteriously happened in the hospital just before he was discharged.
Interesting. You know, George C. Scott is from Big Stone Gap.
Yes.
George C. Scott played the Patton. Let's go over here and I'll walk over real quick.
Let me tell you about two more books first.
Sure.
Speaking of the Ron Paul books are great. They're basic, simple courses in liberty and constitutionalism, but there are actually two other books, political books, that are better than Ron Paul books. Hard to believe.
Not that hard to believe.
Best political book in history is The Road to Serfdom by Frederick Hayek.
F.A. Hayek, yes, 1942, economics.
Won 2 Nobel Prizes in economics.
Yes.
And then Thomas Sowell, who is in his 80s and writes columns and books still, wrote a similar book called Vision of the Anointed, which is really a great expose of what you and I see every day in our own city.
These books are very hard to get now, are they not?
No.
They're not. Do you have some copies here?
Of course I do.
Okay, guys.
All the time.
Listen. Dr. Glenn Moody in the book business 48 years. Now, he's not always been in here in the mall and not always been in this particular building, but he have the books. So come out here. I love books. You know, the Killing Patton has the Martin Dugard, but it sells because of the Bill O'Reilly. I don't like Bill O'Reilly. Maybe I should read the books. Killing Jesus, Killing Lincoln, Killing Kennedy, Killing... What else are they killing? You know...
Well, Patton is the best one, actually.
Yeah, you think so?
I think it's the best of the ones he's done.
But the Lincoln, the Killing Lincoln kind of launched that, yes?
Yeah, but there's not really as much mystery about Lincoln and Kennedy as there are. And of course, there's no mystery about killing Jesus. But
yeah,
the Patton really, if you like conspiracy theories, there definitely are layers of conspiracy theories by the U.S. government. I mean, it's like Snowden back in the 40s.
There. Oh, I see. Yeah, definitely. Got you. Makes perfect sense. Thank you, Dr. Glenn. We'll be back with Hunter S. Thompson, ladies and gentlemen.